at that time was a 16-year-old Life Scout here at Troop 408 in Roselle. And he was in need of a third conservation project for the Hornaday Award. And I'd just like to quote you a little bit from that letter. It said, volunteers for the Forest Preserve District try to remove invasive plants by hand, but that's like trying to clear a beach of sand with tweezers. Using goats is like a tidal wave to get rid of invasive plants. The goats would not only remove the plants immediately, but keep them from growing to a thicker use without the use of chemicals. They will be rebalancing the ecosystem. Something needs to prey on those plants, and that's what goats do. Goats are eating machines, and they don't need gas, and they aren't noisy, and they will also fertilize the land as they eat. So with that information and getting spurred on, I decided let's try to organize a group together of our district staff, and that was from our natural resources. Well, little did I know that by doing that and asking a few 10 natural resources staff would show up with Gavin, giving a presentation about his program that he would suggest with his brother, and 38 goats that would curtail the invasive species that we had in our preserve. This, of course, was a criterion for the Hornaday consideration. It needed to be an environmentally significant project. He needed to educate Forest Preserve District staff on the cost effectiveness and the environmentally friendliness of that project, and there must be a public education component within it. Now, this is a 16-year-old Gavin Burseth presenting to district seasoned staff of our Natural Resources Department. 38 goats eating invasive plants, well, they'll fertilize the area afterwards. Economically and environmentally friendly alternative to machinery and chemicals, you bet. Goats were kept in an area of an inside electrical fence that was solar powered, and also it provided a view, Gavin's view, as well as that of the goats' responsibilities that he would undertake to make this project work. Now, there were problems that were encountered. The suggested area by Natural Resources was not accessible with the trailers and the goats within it. And another important criterion for the Hornaday Award was that this project was suggested in a remote area, and he needed to make a presentation to the general public. But not to be deterred, I approached Justin Frederick from the Land Management Department. Justin met with Gavin, and they had some very positive results. The location that was suggested was a 1/4 acre at the Blackwell Family Campground, near several of the 64 campsites that are there. The location was on a very steep ravine, which was not accessible by our machines. There was lots of poison ivy. It was all around the water pump, and the campers were not very happy about it. And there was access for that trailer with the goats. The public area was very close to the campers, so he could make his presentation, and it was excellent timing. We were looking at the last weekend for family campers at that location. Well, one more step had to be taken, and we met with the risk liability coordinator. And with the help of Gavin's brother and all the elements that were approved, also Boy Scouts of America approved the project. And that solar-powered electrical fence was also approved, because at that time, it was going to be a Wednesday, not on the weekend, and therefore, it could contain the goats because there would be no public around. Now, the project was scheduled for September the 24th. The arrival was very prompt at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the goats were released to munch. They ate the invasive plants, of course, poison ivy, for 10 hours. Yes, they loved it. They ate all around the sidewalk and that water pump, and everybody was thrilled. They ate down the ravine. It was incredible. This proved to be the project that was eco-friendly solution for the Forest Preserve District. But more importantly, it proved that an inspired scout can provide an educational opportunity not only for the public, but also for our district staff and for me too. There are other outcomes that were great. Gavin did a press release. Oh my goodness. Frank Matthey came out to the site. ABC News was on the site to look at these goats. Daily Herald came. And we are not sure, but Chicago Tribune got wind of it. It was a party. It was amazing. Now, somehow, this was released to the Associated Press. Guess what? It went from Miami to Seattle, from Washington, D.C. to Houston. It went from Kansas to San Francisco, and I want you to know it went to Turkey. Yes, it went to Turkey. So it was incredible positive results from Gavin bringing his innovative Go project to us. Not only was it good press for the Boy Scouts of America and the Eagle Scout program, but it was an introduction to many about what Eagle Scouts can do, and especially the Hornaday Award. It was excellent press coverage for the Forest Preserve District. The effort was environmentally innovative. It offered district staff an opportunity to work with a unique and pioneering project, but also with a young life a scout. Incredible. It promoted Blackwell Family Campground, and Gavin gave education presentations to at the family campground that weekend, as well as to the youth campground at Blackwell Preserves, talking all about poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac, as well as new ideas about removal of invasive plants by goats. The willingness of the Forest Preserve District to listen to this youthful voice while experimenting with a pilot project was very, very positive experience. Youth working with staff, natural resources staff was extremely disappointed. They were not able to pursue the GOAT project with Gavin, but they found the discussion enlivening and very, very innovative. It proved very positive for land management, but it's not over yet. I couldn't help myself. I took those photos that we took that day, and I sent them to Susan Ellis. She's the president of Energize, Inc., and also is the editor for the e-volunteerism electronic newsletter, which informs and challenges leaders of volunteers. Well, Susan asked us if we would write a combined article from his point of view as a youth volunteer and from me as a volunteer manager and my organization's perspective. Thus, a GOAT story was written, and it was a successful feature in that journal from October through December for the e-volunteerism. Exceptional. It was an opportunity for the Forest Preserve District and for volunteer services supervisor to learn a lot. So I want to give you the last two paragraphs from that article that we wrote together. The story that circled around the world was not just about goats eating poison ivy and assisting with the removal of invasive and irritating plants at the family campground. It was also the story of a young volunteer making a difference. As volunteer resources managers, we all know this story. We thrive on it, we preach it, but this project had value far beyond the success of Hungry Goats. It was about a 16-year-old volunteer who wanted to help us in a unique and profound way. I'm so grateful to have had this experience, to learn that narrow thinking can create obstacles, but open-minded thought creates new ideas. Never too old, I guess. Never too young. Thanks to Gavin and 38 kids. Thank you.